Jim Jones wasn't just deceived, he was also filmed. Before Camron hit play on a USB, he was sitting in court like a king. And then he was shown on video with someone else in a hotel room wearing heels and a hoodie, laughing and murmuring, "Jim, I don't know, so let him remain foolish. Have you ever witnessed a man's heart leave his body?" Jim only stared at the television as if it were his funeral. The courtroom hushed, Mama Jones immobile. Chrissy knew the camera was rolling, so now we ask, how many more clips does Cam have? Was this a long-running scam or love? How do you feel about this? Camron is grinning like he waited 10 years for this. This wasn't leaked accidentally. Rebuild after the entire world witnessed your life fall apart in 4K. Hold on tight because Jim Jones won't be returning after this. It began with a USB and concluded with Jim Jones folding in a courtroom chair, his hands shaking and his soul half out of his body. The video wasn't. The video showed Chrissy at 9:13 p.m. pulling a hoodie over her head outside the Moran Hotel in Soho. It was grainy, but it was clear, crisp, time-stamped, and shot as if someone knew it would eventually be used in court. Inside that apartment was Reggie, whose name fans began speculating about months ago. The same man who was connected to a muffled jail call is the one Chrissy. She looked side to side as if the city was watching her breathe, and the man who opened the door was not Jim. Swore was only a buddy, but this film was a complete betrayal in high definition. You could sense the energy change as soon as Camron gave the court clerk the USB. The atmosphere grew chilly, and Jim sat up straighter as if something had already happened inside of him. Chrissy looked back towards the hallway as she entered the hotel room and murmured into her phone, "Jim still thinks I'm at my cousin's. He's so easy." However, knowing and seeing are two different sorts of agony. Jim sat like his skeleton had melted, and the courtroom cracked, not with sound, but with stress. His eyes were glassy over breathing, and Cam slumped back in his chair like a guy who had been waiting 10 years for karma to cash the check. Baifs hurried in, EMTs were called. Chrissy sat still as if she were watching a situation she had previously imagined 100 times, and then there was a sudden inhale, a collapse, one palm on his chest and an arm hanging off the chair. The courtroom exploded. Flinch, didn't blink, didn't move. And that was only the first 37 seconds of the clip, because what followed was when the stillness, the lies, and the ride-or-die narrative that was created for reality TV came crashing down. The video then goes to a room with 2 glasses of wine and a playlist, reverberating from the speaker. "This is where I breathe with you. I don't feel like I'm suffocating in someone else's life," Chrissy sings in a low voice while giggling. Jim said on 3 consecutive podcasts last year that Chrissy was his oxygen on day 1 and the reason I survived, and now he's hearing her say that she felt dead inside with him. According to insiders, Chrissy knew about the camera. That statement impacted like a ton of bricks. Chrissy didn't anticipate that Camron would wind up with the film, though it's still unknown how he obtained it. Some claim Cam had someone inside, while others think Reggie lost it after Chrissy abandoned him. The room belonged to a friend of Reggie's who routinely recorded things for protection. Whatever happened, Camron ended up with the one piece of evidence that no one believed to exist. And it wasn't just any evidence. It was unquestionably scandalous and emotionally devastating. According to court filings, Cam filed the USB as part of a defamation lawsuit against Jim, alleging that Jim attempted to defame his reputation during a VH1 production meeting in 2022. Regardless of legal beef, this was about retaliation, and Cam didn't just serve it cold. He did it in front of Jim's mother because, yep, Mama Jones was there. Security believed she was going to attack Chrissy after Jim struck the floor, but she got up so quickly that she was escorted out. "You lied to my son! You used him!" she yelled as she paced the pavement, ranting into her phone. "This is why I never, as EMTs, evaluated Jim's vitals and determined he hadn't experienced a heart attack, but rather a trauma-induced collapse. The judge had to halt the trial for a whole hour. Believed that woman I told Jim day 1 she'd ruin him. Yes, the internet went crazy in music seconds. Within 20 minutes of the release, the Chrissy Hotel tape, Camron's revelation of Neem Jones' breakdown, and the vicious memes all trended. One of them featured Jim's face on another featured Camron grinning like Thanos while clutching the USB and the final Infinity Stone, while another said, Bro got folded like the sheets Chrissy left in that hotel. However, this wasn't simply a Twitter joke session, because the DA halted the trial once more and drew the judge aside as the entire 4-minute movie played. The reason for this was because the video was not just proof of infidelity, but also reportedly showed potential obstruction of justice. As you can see, Chrissy was already under investigation by the court for a closed charity fraud case. In the Eyebrows hotel video, she mentions that, "Reggie helped me clean that mess up, I told them it was a donation." This might mean that she faces more charges. A possible federal case has now emerged from what began as a reality TV heartache, and Cam wasn't. Finished because, as the court called break, Cam got up, turned to face Jim and stated, "I warned you she wasn't loyal. I just gave you what you needed to." According to a courtroom lip-reader sitting 3 seats back, Chrissy leaned over to her lawyer and said something, while Jim remained silent and just stared ahead as if the entire world had turned to static. Behind her, she remarked, "Tell the judge I was drunk, that clip's out of context." The clip was 4K multi-angle with audio, but that's only the beginning, as Cam's legal team will be there when the court reconvenes next week, claims that 2 more video and a voicemail that was leaked from Chrissy to Mona Scott are being submitted. If even half of the rumors about that call are accurate, Jim Jones won't be the only one who loses everything. The entire VH1 franchise will be destroyed. The courtroom was buzzing after recess, but no one was prepared for what was about to happen, because as everyone was gathering their thoughts after watching the hotel clip, Cameron's attorney got up and said 7 words that stopped the judge in his tracks. "We have more footage, and you could hear the rumors sweeping through the audience like a wave of suspicion." Chrissy went pale, Jim didn't even glance up, and Mama Jones had to be physically held before she could return to the courtroom. The judge leaned forward and requested, "This is a voicemail that Ms. Lampkin left on Mona Scott Young's phone 3 weeks prior to the audio being recorded." Suddenly, this wasn't simply a cheating scandal. It was about to turn into a conspiracy. That might kill the franchise. Clarification. Cam's lawyer, Cool Cold Surgical. "I told you that if Jim discovers that the entire season is ruined, Cam won't be able to know either, so he'll utilize it. I need you to manage that room footage." Reggie said it was deleted, and within 10 seconds, Jaws dropped Chrissy's voice, crystal clear. "Mona, promise to handle the video, tell Mona to put it away, and declare it season ending." This was a smoking gun inside a nuclear bomb. The judge stopped the video, and Chrissy's attorney frantically stood up to protest, but it was too late. The court had heard enough, and Cam wasn't even. He was locked in because that voicemail not only demonstrated that Chrissy had cheated, but also that she knew she would be caught and attempted to remove it with assistance from the top. This implied a cover-up, manipulation, and possibly meddling. Even the baifs appeared shaken at this point in the continuing investigation. Jim eventually raised his head, his eyes blank, and stared straight at Chrissy as if he had forgotten who she was, like the woman he had purchased rings for sobbed. Then, the second tape began. This one wasn't from the hotel. Rather, it was from inside a trailer on the set of Love and Hip Hop New York, which had been secretly leaked months earlier by an unidentified source. Over on red carpets, producers scrambled to defend nothing at all. "I'm not dumb. I know Jim's loyal, but loyalty don't fix bored Reggie makes me feel uncomfortable," Chrissy stated to Yandy in the video, which was taken behind the scenes on what was supposed to be a down day, something, and Mona is aware that if this leaks, I'm out. Yandy's response: "Girl, you're playing with fire. You know Cam hates him. You get caught." That clip struck a different chord, because the audience was no longer only witnessing infidelity. They were also strategy, such as the fact that the entire Chrissy and Jim romance was a staged brand rather than a genuine bond, and it made Mona more vulnerable since if producers had been aware of this for months and had still produced the engagement special pushing the forever love angle, then what else had? By this point, social media was completely on fire, blogs were ablaze, and fans were switching sides in real time. Chrissy's name was trending with Judas and liability setup queen in Lubbock Towns, as well as Mama Jones. When she eventually managed to get past security, she barged into the TMZ cameras were waiting in the corridor outside the court when someone said, "That woman ruined my son's life. She's a snake, and I want VH1 to burn with her." Security attempted to stop her, but the damage was done, and the video quickly went viral on TikTok. Mama Jones's tirade was also edited into the hotel video, which talk captioned, "When your mom was right the whole time." However, things became more gloomy back in court since Cam's attorney rose up once more after the second clip's audio finished playing. He presented the judge with a written email, screenshot, and paper trail, saying, "This is an email from Chrissy's account asking for the removal of footage from a private server connected to Mona Scott's media cloud." The judge said, "Read the email," and the chamber fell silent once more. "I need that room wiped by Monday. If it gets out, Jim won't recover. Neither will the show. Tell Reggie to keep his mouth shut," Chrissy reportedly texted as her hands began to shake. Close. Jim stood up shivering and asked Chrissy a single question. "Is any of this real?" Chrissy's lips quivered as he continued. Now it was beyond cheating. This was manipulation. This was a media hit job gone wrong. Camron didn't flinch. He had already won. This wasn't merely retaliation. This was surgery. She simply looked down. That quiet was louder than any confession because, had she answered yes, perhaps something would have remained. VH1's legal team abruptly asked to address the court, which caused the dismantling Hooray judge to halt proceedings once more. "That's right. The network was now involved," the judge said. "A man in a gray outfit is their representative. We think some of this footage was illegally obtained, and its release may violate confidentiality clauses within existing contracts," he said, perspiring through his collar. Translation: they were in a panic because Cam had blown up their golden marriage, exposed producer manipulation, and made it clear that the whole romance was a ticking time bomb. However, the judge wasn't concerned about keeping TV deals. He addressed Chrissy directly. "Did you attempt to obstruct or mislead the media in order to impede this court's investigation?" Chrissy stuttered. Her lawyer objected. The judge pressed on, and that's when her voice cracked. "I didn't, considering that the court had one more surprise in store, a text log from Reggie that was leaked from a burner phone Cam's team. I was afraid, but I was afraid of losing Jim, of being exposed, and of seeing the deception come to light too late." Reggie wrote to a friend after being subpoenaed, saying, "Now I'm the villain and Cam got the drop. I should have dropped the rest of the clips. She pleaded with me not to, but by the end of the day, Jim went away with more." The world watched live as he left the courthouse looking like a ghost, with no Chrissy by his side, no Mona, and no security. He was the only man carrying the burden of a betrayal and a love that never happened. Outside, a reporter asked Cam one more question. "Do you think Jim deserved it?" Because only one guy left the courtroom in this game of love, loyalty, and cameras. This Cam stared into the lens and said, "No." However, sometimes the truth doesn't care who it breaks, so he departed, undefeated, and worse, it's not even over. By the following morning, the video had already been on every screen throughout America. The clips had been manipulated with depressing music, stitched, remixed, slowed down, and made into memes before Chrissy could get there. Jim Jones's frozen expression of betrayal had come to represent not only heartache, but also humiliation for her publicist. Although followers were split on the internet, it was evident that no one was buying the misunderstanding story. People were retrieving old interviews, tweets, and sequences from previous seasons to rewatch the love story with fresh eyes and spot the warning signs in high definition. This wasn't just a rumor gone bad anymore. It was a whole operation that was made public. One tape even reappeared. Mama Jones told Chrissy directly, "You don't love my son, you love the camera." That phrase is now on t-shirts, but the court wasn't even close to being finished because, despite the loud emotional destruction, the legal chaos was louder. VH1's internal emails were unexpectedly subpoenaed when Camron's legal team filed an emergency move. Their reason was that Reggie, the man Chrissy was secretly seeing, worked in post-production. And guess who approved the video changes for the Chrissy and Jim spinoff Yes, Reggie? That led to a thorough investigation into fraud. If producers changed plots, hid actual drama, and edited film to maintain a brand that isn't simply dubious, that's civil fraud if it involved contracts. You know it's bad when Mona Scott Young abandons the script, but this is when things reached a point where nobody cared. Revenue or false portrayal of cast members' sponsors began pulling out production shut down briefly, and Mona Scott Young unfollowed Chrissy mid-herring. Let it sink in. After years of being her partner, her defender, and her man on and off screen, Jim Jones's lawyer filed a move to sue Chrissy for financial sabotage and mental anguish. The filings weren't light either, included canceled appearances, lost brand deals, and, most damaging of all, unreleased video that Jim had consented to shoot for a Netflix documentary series, but that would never be shown due to the incident. The estimated cost was $2. $3 million, as well as, in addition, Chrissy's own ex-boyfriend, Marcus, appeared out of nowhere. According to an exclusive with a gossip website, someone from her past claimed that Chrissy always had a fallback plan. Jim was never the goal. He was the exposure. Even displayed voicemails and texts, including one in which Chrissy allegedly stated, "Jim's career is cute, but I'm trying to build mine. Q internet combustion blogs ran wild." In another, Chrissy the architect became popular while Cam was resting, because Camron released a 30-second preview for his own documentary on Instagram with the statement, "You saw the courtroom, now see the full truth coming soon," while the court was considering motions and sealing evidence. Chrissy's voice murmuring, "If this gets out, Jim's going to leave me. Don't let Cam find out," is shown in the teaser black screen. Then the camera cuts to Cameron's face and he says, "I found out." That video had over 5 million views. Jim remained silent for 4 hours, but his mother, Mama Jones, did. She paced her living room during the live stream that evening, fighting back tears and anger as she said, "You broke my son. You broke me, Chrissy. You were family. I called you daughter. Now look what you done. You let the devil." Chrissy went silent, making no remark or offering an apology, just posting a single Instagram story with black lettering and a white background. Sometimes silence is the only response that people deserve, but it's too late because silence only works when the court reconvened on day 4, the judge was no longer in mediator mode and was furious because fresh evidence had emerged, this time from an unexpected source. In a sworn statement, Olivia Yes, a former cast member, former singer, and longtime quiet observer, stated that she saw Chrissy and Reggie in a hotel lobby together in 2022, holding hands and fighting over whether to retain things. "I'm only doing what Mona won't. Jim's too blind to know I'm not meant for forever," she added quietly, quoting Chrissy. That wasn't just betrayal, that was intentional fraud, and here's where it got wild. VH1 tried to prevent the clip from further airing, they ordered cease, and bloggers attempted to stop YouTube malfunctions and even sought temporary injunctions to stop the documentary that Camron teased, but the internet persevered. Unfazed, Cam went live with a smile and a drink saying, "Let them try. The truth has already dropped. This is my story, not theirs anymore." Jim, meanwhile, quit attending court because he couldn't handle it, not because he didn't care. However, his team issued a brief statement stating that Mr. Jones is prioritizing his mental health and requesting privacy during this time. Suddenly, the victim and the villain switched roles, with Jim going from rapper to wreck and Chrissy from fiancé to defendant. And now that the show has been canceled, court battles are raging, and fans are calling for responsibility, there is only one thing that is certain. This scandal exposed a franchise, damaged a brand, and revealed what truly occurs when one fan wrote, "It's the best." Love and hip-hop were never real. But this pain, this fallout, this silence, it's realer than anything that show ever aired. Love turns into a product, and devotion becomes leverage. You know what? They're correct. Because only the actual damage is left once the smoke clears and the editing stops. The kind that doesn't fade into the next episode, doesn't cut to commercials, and keeps playing whenever someone writes Chrissy. The hotel secret, the camera lies, the career crushed beneath the weight of treachery for Jim. That answer plays repeatedly in his silence. For Chrissy, it's already written in the footage because, no matter how difficult, now that the mask is off, the cameras are off, and the truth is completely visible, what happens next? Does Jim Jones walk away from all the fame the world has witnessed? They try to hide it, spin it, or rewrite it, but nobody is ignoring it. Is this a one-time retribution drop, or does Camron have more in the vault? Because, let's be honest, if this was just one clip, what would happen if Chrissy disappeared into silence, thinking that time would do what apologies can't? One thing is certain. This was not another instance of love and hip-hop. Rather, it was a complete takedown, with a reality TV empire collapsing beneath the weight of receipts, secrets, and a USB drive that caused more harm than 1,000 punches. If this story has taught us one thing, it's that no one is safe when the truth starts to leak. So here's what you need to do. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, along with who you believe, who you blame, and most importantly, who's next. Make sure to hit the like button if you were glued to this. Please subscribe so you don't miss the next shocking revelation. Turn on and believe me, it's coming. Notifications due to the actual drama never longer occurs on television. Instead, it occurs. The truth doesn't get through here. Edit it out. This is only the start. Additionally, if you're still seeing, you're already included in the narrative,